Kurt Schlichter is a pal and also a successful trial lawyer, as he will tell you any chance he gets, a retired Army infantry colonel, as he will also tell you any chance he gets, and a senior columnist for townhall.com. I love the guy, his new book, Militant Normals, How Regular Americans Are Rebelling Against the Elite to Reclaim Our Democracy. It is out now. Here's Kurt. Kurt, it is great to see you.
It's great to be here. It's been far too long.
I know. It's like the only time I see people is when I interview them.
I know, and we're like in Los Angeles. Now, what people don't understand is that everything in Los Angeles, though, is like an hour and a half away.
I know, if in good traffic. Which
in
never
good traffic.
Yeah,
I mean, it was like an hour coming. I was stuck in traffic. I was doing radio hits in traffic on the way up here. I'm like, I'm on the 405. So I'm angry, and now you're asking me about stripper Matlock.
That is so LA. All right. So aside from how did you get through security, which actually we should check that out because let's talk about the book. It's Militant Normals. Great title. What does it mean?
Well, look, I posit that there are really two classes in America, and I think there used to be a divide over politics, left and right. And I think it's much more class now because we are seeing people on the right, and sometimes you call them never Trumpers, although I think that's a misleading description. You see people who identify with the values of those who kind of tend to run our institutions, run academia, Hollywood, politics. Now, and I call them the elite in the book, except they're not really elite. They're sort of self-appointed elite. The way they get to be within the elite is they choose to be within the elite. So you can be elite if you, have 5 degrees and you're the president of a university. But you can also be within the elite if you merely identified. If you're that guy sitting in Starbucks, right? He's got the knit cap. He's got a Chinese character tattooed on that he thinks means luck, and it really means sucker. And he's typing away on his Mac Pro, about how Trump treason, the Russians are bad, and I've always loved the new turnaround on Russians being bad.
Yeah, suddenly they're bad.
Because I was literally in the Cold War. Yeah. I was literally an army officer in Germany when the wall fell, and my mission was to die fighting the Russians. It was like, Kurt, you fight until you die, and hopefully by then we'll have sent the guys over. And of course, the guys coming over are the normals. These are the guys who built this country, feed this country, fuel this country, defend this country, and don't want to take a huge day-by-day interest in the running of the country. I mean, you and I, we follow politics all the time because we choose to. Most people want to follow their kids' little league team, or they want to, barbecue with their friends, or they just, go to their church or their synagogue. They want to live their life their way, and they allow the elite to do the running of society, right? And they take a little off the top, right? You get your power, you get your prestige, you get your position, you get some money. And that's okay with them. Just provide us prosperity and security. Do a good job, and I'll leave you alone. But when they stop doing a good job, that's when people get militant. We saw it at the silent majority under Nixon. We saw it when Reagan was elected. I think Ross Perot was a symbol of it, although I give him credit, Bill Clinton, I think, understood normal Americans better than a Democrat. Yeah. Biden's pretty good about it too, which is why he worries me for 2020. And then the Tea Party, of course. But the difference now with the Tea Party, you had the elite fighting back instead of going, we got to change a little. The Democrats became more conservative after Ronald Reagan because they saw his successful economy. They're like, okay, we need to be a little more serious about this stuff.
Yeah, Clinton, too.
Exactly. Clinton was a more moderate Democrat. It was a reaction to the normal people saying, this isn't working for us. With the Tea Party, you had kind of the bipartisan elite, because there can be conservatives in the elite who also want their power and prestige, and they kind of united to push down this rebellion, but they didn't fix the problem. So it pops back up in 2016, and it's still going on. And the big difference is, the elite used to respect normals. They used to think of the normal people as, well, maybe they didn't honor all the values and traditions that the normals kind of were the receptacle of. You know, I mean, the Kennedys would not get out there and say, I hate motherhood and I hate the flag, even though they lived in a way, you know, at least hating motherhood. They seem to like the flag.
Yep.
Not Teddy, but at least John F. Kennedy fought for it.
But it's true. Hollywood used to make movies for the middle of the country.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, it's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
This is a movie that's
going my way, sure.
Exactly. These are movies that celebrate normal Americans. Bert and Ernie, the cop and the taxi driver,
right.
in Wonderful Life, embodied what America is. Remember, they all went off to war.
So what happened? Why did they? How did they lose the train?
I think in the '60s we had a fight within the elite. And we had an old elite that still held to that, and we had a young elite that kind of wanted to kick them out of power. And the way to do that was to be countercultural, to attack the underlying assumptions. And of course, they were fueled by the Frankfurt School stuff that our mutual friend Michael Walsh writes about so much better than I do.
Yeah, no, it's really good stuff.
It is good stuff. I actually say in the book, look, if you want a serious exploration of this, go buy Michael Walsh's book. Because mine is not a political science slog. I'm a political science major. I got a strategic studies degree. I got a law degree. All that's baloney. My book is fun. Okay, you're going to laugh. I make fun of stupid people. I'm obnoxious.
That's why we're here.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm obnoxious. I like to think it's very Breitbarty, while also presenting a coherent argument and a way to think about what's going on.
Okay.
At least to posit, okay, you got the normals, you got the elites. How are they interacting? There's one way of thinking about it. And I think it answers, I think it's a good general answer to the questions. And of course, there are people who are, you know, cross the lines.
So are there dangers to this when you talk about, I mean, I've always thought that the people in this country, as a kid, I wandered all around this country and I was shocked because I was an elite coast person.
Right.
I was shocked to find how smart and lovely and
Yes.
funny they all were. But I also saw during the Tea Party where they would throw up candidates like Christine O'Donnell, you know, I'm not a witch, and all these people who really could not compete at the level of the elite politicians. Is there a danger that we're going to do that again?
Certainly, because like any human endeavor, the normals rebellion is going to have setbacks. And we're going to make dumb choices. Christine O'Donnell was a dumb choice. We should have taken Mike Castle, right? And I think I talk about this in the book. Mike Castle was a squish. He was a soft Republican of the kind that Delaware would elect. Okay? He's annoying. He's like, you know, a Murkowski or a Flake. You can't really trust him all the time, but you can trust him most of the time, and you can trust him most of the time when you need him. You know, sometimes sometimes like in any human endeavor, we let our emotion get ahead of our cold ruthlessness. Looking back, I would be happy if we got rid of Christine O'Donnell, who probably would have voted my way on everything except for her fascination with Wiccan rights.
Yeah, the witchcraft was a drawback.
You know, put a spell on you, Tea Party, and have him. But look, we're going to make mistakes, but we're also going to make good choices. Got Ted Cruz. We got Mike Lee. I mean, we've got some outstanding folks, and we're getting rid of the Cruz shilling hacks. Flake is going away. Corker is going away. A lot of these guys are going away, and the Irwins are scared. And that's good. Because you get to Washington, you become part of the elite. Suddenly you're starting to think about, okay, what's in it for me? What I want them to think is, okay, if I can't play I'm going to talk big out in Iowa, and I'm going to come back here and vote like I'm from Marin County. Okay? We have the technology. We have social media to watch these guys 24/7. This is going to force them harder to the right. It also forces Democrats harder to the left.
You know, I was talking to Ann Coulter recently, and she was saying she's baffled by the fact that Trump won't build the wall, which was her big issue, and that the Republicans are just kind of like not helping him when this seems to her to be what got Trump elected. Does that startle you? Does it startle you that they just kind of threw this overboard?
I think it's human nature. I think when you're turning around a ship at sea, it's going to be a wide turn. Now, I'm frustrated and annoyed and angry, and I think the voters are too. But I understand why it has to happen. Look, I was in the Army for 27 years. I know about big, lumbering, inefficient institutions. I was a commander of a battalion. I was deputy commander, acting commander at a brigade. Brigade's 5,000 people. It's like a moving village. And you can't turn on a dime. I mean, when we would plan, you're taking the analogy out, but when we would plan, you do anything at the brigade level, that's a 3-day thing. Move from here 5 miles away. That's a 3-day operation because it's 5,000 people. Look at to move our politics is a huge endeavor. And we have to understand we're not going to win every fight right now.
Right.
I think Trump is interesting and good because he understands power, I think, better than a lot of these people. He's more willing to use power aggressively than other people. During I'm firing Rosenstein, maybe I'm not firing Rosenstein, or maybe I am, or maybe I will. I thought, tactically, I might not make that choice, but this is one guy who's not afraid to use power. Now, he's kind of got out there. I think we'll see. I don't know. By the time this broadcast, Rosenstein may be gone. Yeah. Maybe in federal prison. Who knows?
Where do you stand about Trump? Because you've been very supportive of him, but he obviously can be problematical, right?
Look, chapter 1 of my book is about my conversion.
Okay.
From anti-Trump. I was never Trump. I was never Jeb because I can't stand that puffball. I freaking Jeb, and throughout the book, Jeb has an exclamation point. So I'm doing, Tony Katz did most of the audio book.
Possibly the funniest exclamation point in the history of exclamation points.
It is great. Tony Katz did most of the book, but I did chapter 1 for the audio book. And every time Jeb comes up, I'm like, Jeb! God, I hate that guy. But I was never Trump. I was anti-Trump.
Okay.
Me too. But I was never Hillary.
Uh-huh.
And Trump wasn't a conservative. I was an ideological conservative, Drew. I read the National Review every week when I was in the 80s. That was how we got conservatism.
Yeah, sure.
That was your conservative delivery system. You didn't go on the internet. You waited every 2 weeks, and you got Buckley's book,
right?
Or magazine. And then later, I read the Weekly Standard. Look, we all, we all.
None of this is perfect.
We all take ahoy, cruise shilling hacks. God, I hate those guys. They've really stunk. So
Trump wasn't that guy.
But Trump was not that guy. And I was like, what the hell is this guy?
Right.
Now, look, I'm a blue state trial lawyer. I drive a car that costs more than my parents' house. When they bought it in San Mateo, not when they sold it 40 years later, a month ago.
Pay for this car?
No, that was. But I've got multiple advanced degrees, so I have the credentials to be elite.
Right.
And I think for a while maybe I was identifying as one, and yet I was always sympathetic because my roots are in rural Pennsylvania. That's where my parents came from. My dad was a chemical engineer. My mom was a judge, and I was an Army officer, and I led normal Americans,
right.
And I just adored the troops. My respect for these guys was boundless. I was always stunned that they let me in the room, much less be the colonel. And I think, and I'm going to take the blame here. I don't want to cast on anyone else, but I think my journey is kind of like what some of the movement had. I forgot to think about what the effect was. Huge supporter of free trade, but then you got that guy, and he's 58, and he's Bloomington, Illinois, and he worked at he did a tour in the Marines, Desert Storm. Now he's back, and he's worked for 25 years at the Carrier plant making air conditioners, right? And he's got a kid in college, and he's got a mortgage, and he's got to work maybe 10 years at least. And one day a guy pulls up in the limousine, and he looks a lot like Mitt Romney, and he gets out and he goes, well, you guys, according to Milton Friedman, it makes sense for me to send your jobs to Oaxaca.
Right, yeah,
adios. Everybody learn coding. and and this guy's been a Republican forever. This is the guy we asked to come out, right? The guy asked, tell the people at your church, tell the people at the Little League game, tell them to go vote Republican. He goes, heck yeah, I'm going to do that. But now he's out of a job. And what's our answer to him? Well, free markets. I love free markets. There's a consequence. What are we doing for our people? Illegal immigration. A lot of people are saying, well, legal immigration helps the economy. Massive immigration's good. I know. I married an immigrant. What about the guy who can't get a job roofing out in Fontana?
Yeah.
60 miles from here, a guy who wants to be a roofer, but he can't because all these illegals will work for $10 an hour. And the contractor goes, look, I'd love to hire you, Joe. Love to hire you. but I can't pay you. I can't compete if I don't hire these guys. And then he's driving his car home, and he gets sideswiped by a guy in some crummy Corolla. And the guy's illegal, and he's got no insurance. A cop comes, and the guy goes, "The guy's an illegal alien." The cop goes, "I can't do anything about it." And the dude goes, "Adios," and he drives away. And now this guy, he doesn't have a job. Now he's got a $900 bill. What does the Wall Street Journal say to him? Well, you know, open borders is Milton Friedman's. I love Milton Friedman. Okay, but he doesn't pay for this guy's freaking broken car.
No, it's absolutely true. We're running out of time, so I just want to ask you, what do you think is coming down the pike in the midterms?
I think the Kavanaugh thing has the potential to mobilize not only conservatives but independents at this amazing injustice, this disgraceful, disgusting character assassination. I think we need to point out aggressively that every one of you, especially suburban women who tend to vote Republican, but the Democrats are trying to peel off, you've got a son, you've got a husband, you've got a brother, and every single one of them is vulnerable to lies. If the standard is somebody points to you and says guilty, and you're guilty, if the crucible becomes not a book you read in high school, but a how-to, okay, your own people are going to suffer. Is that the world you want? If it is, vote Democrat.
I hope they hear you. Kurt Schlichter, great to see you. Militant Normals is the book, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Nobody sent it to me, but I'll get it eventually.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.